here. So I'm Katie Grand. I am a genetic counselor. I used to work here at CHOP with Matt and Kara, but then I moved out to LA, so I'm at Cedars-Sinai now. So really, my focus is how can we help identify, connect, and help families. And previously, I think since the very first family meeting, we've had this CHOP registry, which it is essentially a collection of medical records. And why we like to have that is to help answer some of these unanswered questions. And I think it's kind of crazy from the first family meeting, which, some of the families are here and, now we have all this new information. So it has been super helpful for us. If anyone isn't enrolled in it, shoot me an email, and there is a electronic, consent form that we can do. And yeah, it's everything's de-identified. So that should be, super easy. And we also had the CHOP website that when you would search, WDR26 or Skraban-Deardorff syndrome, that would pop up and help direct patients to CHOP. We also have the social media support group, so the Facebook support group, which I know many people are on, and I hear it's a great resource. And then from our standpoint, we connect with clinicians, so presenting at national meetings, publishing papers, and then also, I think in the future, hoping to write clinical care guidelines. More recently, I think last year, compared to now, the SKDEAS Foundation is fully at ramping up. I think Kyle, I saw you, Kyle, Emily, everyone who's been involved, Lisa, I think I saw Lisa back there. Yes, I'm like, huge thank you to everyone. We're going to get more updates from, everyone involved with the foundation. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, you guys are all amazing. And then Emily Beauclair, I saw you down there with the podcast. So that has also been amazing. We've had Andrew, Lisa, Cynthia, Emily have all been guests. So I think that's still going. And then I didn't add, Rebecca has been doing an amazing newsletter. Yes, I'm like, where's Rebecca? Another huge shout out to her, which I always love seeing that in the SKDEAS Smile of the Month. So yeah, I think I'm always here if anyone has any ideas or suggestions. I think everyone knows how to get a hold of me, but that's kind of where we are at for supporting and identifying and kind of continuing that research registry. Right? Yes. Yes, it is. Let me see did I put it on the first slide? No, I didn't. It is Catherine, KATHERYN, then .Grand, GRAND as in dog, and then it's at CSHS.org. Or the WDR26 email is always good, which Chris is now the owner of that email. So he's going to be answering it, but it's WDR26@chop.edu. That's kind of the general where we can kind of triage stuff. But everyone can always reach out to me. I'm pretty responsive by email. Okay. Like try to do that super quick in an effort for time. And then any questions, or I think Kara and Chris probably.
Do these work? Yes. Yeah. What, we put you on the spot? Or I'll read them and you can answer.
Okay.
All right. So questions that were online that are summarized here.
Okay.
Do we have any statistics on the development of speech for the children? There's actually kind of two related questions. How many master speech and how many are nonverbal?
That's a great question. So I'm not sure that we have longitudinal data to say cleanly this is when someone spoke their first word.
Louder.
Sorry.
Okay.
I don't think we have enough data right now to say pretty consistently these are when kids spoke their first word versus putting words together versus full sentences. I would say first words maybe somewhere between 1 and 3. Some individuals acquire language at a decent pace. Some kids never speak kind of into adult life. I would say, I don't have a percentage. Most individuals have a few words. We do have a small percentage that's nonverbal. We have some individuals that speak full sentences. So I'm not sure I have numbers per se, but I would say that we have a wide range of outcomes. Generally speaking, I would say the largest cohort has maybe some short phrases, 2 words together, or a bunch of single words. But again, it's a spectrum.
So this is actually a comment as well, but I will say stay tuned for this exact issue. I think Katie referenced it of as we get a bit more organized and get requests out there to families for this kind of data, that'll be incredibly helpful. So at some level, track this data as you're going through the next kind of few years, and think back to what it was. So when that gets out in front of us, we'll have the ability to start to collect that. Second cluster of question, I guess. Do we see any regression of motor function?
So I think part of that is how you describe motor function or how you define that. I would say there's no true regression that we see in any large percentage of individuals with this diagnosis. So people who start walking usually don't lose their ability to walk. People who have good hand function don't tend to lose their ability to use their hands with time. We have heard of some individuals as they've gotten older seem a little bit more unsteady on their feet, or are a little bit more cautious with moving. We have heard of some individuals whose legs tighten, if you will, as they get older, kind of teenage years, but they can still walk. Again, they don't lose that ability, but their gait might look a little bit differently. We've heard of a couple of individuals, again, teenager, older folks who, if bedridden for a long period of time dealing with an illness, develop things like contractures of their knees. But I wouldn't say that there's a true regression or loss of skills that we see in patients, unless there's some sort of trauma or event that would cause that.
All right. Do we see any issues with vaccinations?
Nope. So no issues with vaccination that I know of. Obviously, we would want you to talk to your pediatrician, and I'm sure that varies across the world about vaccine schedules, and make sure that you're following what's recommended. Of course, there are reasons that kids don't get typical vaccines related to other health issues, and so that would always trump that recommendation. But specific to WDR26, there would be no change in vaccine schedule recommendations.
And I'd probably add to that,
Yeah.
Medically, if there are things that come up that people are uncertain about whether it's related to WDR26, let us know. This is kind of how we learn. Because sometimes these are just one-offs and we can't ever really connect them. But occasionally you'll see 1 or 2 kids scattered around, and unless you hear about them, we don't make those connections. So feel free to reach out if these things do come up where people have strange reactions or things that just don't seem to make sense. Other questions? I think that's all we had from online. Other questions from folks here? We got to use the mic for people online.
Matt's in charge of running.
Hi, Nicola Rosa, Jake's mom. So the pediatrician has never recommended any sort of echocardiogram, but you did say that we probably should have one just to make sure, even if there aren't any issues that they see, correct?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Jake's what? He's older at this point, 13. He's an older guy at this point. So I would say that recommendation came, I think we first suggested that might be a good idea. I think as we've learned more about the condition and seen more kiddos, we've had, again, this small minority of individuals who have typically mild differences of the way their heart was formed. I haven't heard of any individuals, at least off the top of my head, who have big, scary heart differences. And so we usually say to have a one-time check of the heart just to double check. I would say, at 13, he's not going to have a big, scary difference of his heart. But often with genetic conditions, and not exclusive to this, we recommend checks just to check things off the list, essentially. So if you haven't had his heart checked, maybe just do it once. But again, I wouldn't expect anything big or scary to exist there at his age. Okay. Big, scary things get picked up right after birth. So you're all beyond that.
Trying to decipher this a little bit. There's an online question. On one of your slides with pictures of the patients. Oh, I know what this is. There were codes that looked like the 1Q41, Q42, but different. What are they? So I think it was that original paper where we had pictures of the kids. I'm not sure who's, it is an online question, so hopefully we're getting the right answer. We had pictures of the children, and in that paper there were 15 kids. So one of the numbers on there was just an identifier for that child as we referred to them in other parts of the manuscript. The other thing that we put on those pictures was what their specific change was. So some of those had kind of the deletion situations. Other ones had kind of the specific kinds of changes that Chris was talking about in terms of missense or nonsense. And that was that nomenclature for each one of those specific changes that was seen in those children, just to help people who are reading that manuscript make the connection back and forth as we were talking about it in the text of the manuscript or in a table.
Yeah, and that type of publication is meant for other physicians, other research scientists. And so there's codes, if you will, that we use to try to make connections that don't always make clear sense to people if you're not used to reading that kind of information.
But we love that technical stuff. So
he loves.
So speaking of